Ready for a new installment of Happypastas? Today we bring you 3 new ones: Nina Smile, Surprise Liu, and Sally Forest. We begin with the story of Nina Smile, the counterpart of the creepy Nina the Killer. As usual, little Eric went to the park to meet his friends. This time he was more excited than ever because he had his new toy with him, a remote-controlled helicopter, a birthday gift from his parents. When he arrived, his friends were already waiting for him. He wanted to show them everything his new toy could do, but the group preferred to play soccer first. So in the meantime, he left it in his backpack. During the game, one of the boys kicked the ball so hard that it landed in the yard of an abandoned house near the park. That house scared them. Its worn-out appearance and the stories surrounding it, along with their parents' warnings, kept them away from the place. Although sad for losing the ball, their disappointment didn't last long, as Eric's helicopter once again caught their attention. Excited, they took turns playing with it, but their joy was cut short when a strong gust of wind hit the small helicopter, causing it to also crash into the creepy house. They tried to get the helicopter to fly out on its own, but they couldn't. They thought maybe the blades had been damaged in the fall and it couldn't fly again. The children became sad, especially Eric, who feared his parents would be angry. Just at that moment, a girl with a warm smile approached them. She introduced herself as Nina Smile and asked why they were upset. Eric explained the problem. They couldn't go into the house to retrieve their toys because it was dangerous. To which Nina replied, "Oh, that's very easy for me. I'll go get them. You guys stay here and wait." The children nodded, and Nina headed towards the house, entering through a broken part of the fence. Once inside, she began searching the garden. It wasn't easy, as the plants were very tall and the brambles tangled around her legs. However, surprisingly, the young girl managed to find the ball. She grabbed it and threw it forcefully out of the property, making it land near the children, who shouted with joy. The helicopter was still missing, so Nina decided to go into the house. The interior was in terrible condition, but that didn't stop her. From what the children had told her, the helicopter might be on the 2nd floor. But as she approached the stairs, she quickly stepped back when she heard footsteps descending. Nina hid, peeking her head out to see who else was there. What she saw surprised her. A girl with brown hair, bright red lipstick, and wearing multicolored clothing. The young girl was coming down the stairs holding Eric's helicopter in her hand. Although Nina was a bit distrustful, not knowing the other girl's intentions, she gathered her courage and stepped out of her hiding place. The other girl, upon seeing her, introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Jelly Smile." The two began to talk. They discovered they had a lot in common, were having a great time, and something told them they could become very good friends. Feeling comfortable in the situation, Jenny confessed what had brought her to that abandoned house. She was tracking down the love of her life, Jeff. There, she had found several things that belonged to him and had kept them as treasures. While searching for more items, something hit her head and got tangled in her hair. It was the children's lost helicopter. Nina asked for it, explaining that she had entered to find it. The young girl gladly gave it to her, first making sure it wasn't broken and removing the strands of hair tangled in the blades. With the toy in hand, Nina decided to return to the park, but not without inviting her new friend to join her. Together, they left the house and returned the helicopter to the children, who thanked them with hugs and smiles. The kids got Eric's toy working again, while Nina and Jenny continued chatting, enjoying their new friendship. For Nina, the day had been a complete success. Not only had she made the children happy, but she had also found a new Happypasta friend. What do you think of Nina? This Happypasta stands out for her cheerful and caring personality. She likes to wear a pink t-shirt, a lilac skirt, tights, and sneakers. Her eyes are blue and her hair is dark brown, though she has a blonde streak. She likes to tie it up in a ponytail with a purple bow. She admires Splendor Man, and like him, she always tries to make others happy. Her best friends are Jenny Smile and Joker Jack, though she also has a lovely friendship with Amy the Hugger. We now continue with Surprise Liu, the older brother of Jeff the Hugger. When his brother ran away from home, Liu didn't rest until he found him, searching everywhere. After several days without success, he finally discovered that Jeff had escaped to help others, which inspired Liu to follow in his footsteps. Since then, he spent his days helping those in need, never losing hope of reuniting with his brother. Months passed, and on that day, Liu was helping an elderly woman pick wild blackberries in the forest. At sunset, exhausted but satisfied, he said goodbye to the kind lady and lay down under a tree, unaware that a hungry creature was stalking him from the bushes. Just as the young man closed his eyes, the creature leaped out of the undergrowth, quickly pouncing on its victim. However, before it could attack, a boy in an orange hoodie with rainbow-colored eyes appeared out of nowhere and threw the attacker aside with force. He had been saved. To Liu's surprise, his savior gently approached the creature and apologized, while Liu, stunned, watched the scene unfold. Suddenly, he recognized him. It couldn't be true. It was his brother Jeff. "Oh, Jeff, I finally found you. You have no idea how worried I've been all this time," Liu exclaimed joyfully as he approached his brother. However, instead of embracing him, the young man motioned with his finger for Liu to stay back while he held him in, or thing, immobilized. Jeff skillfully tied the creature's hands and body, then rushed to his brother, took him by the hand and quickly pulled him away. "Jeff, why are we running?" Liu asked, to which he replied, "Because eyeless Jack is not someone you want to be around when he's hungry. The ropes will only hold him for a few minutes. I have to get you to a safe place and I'll explain everything there." Jeff let out a loud whistle, calling for something or someone. However, it also caught the attention of the furious killer, who broke free from the ropes and dangerously approached the brothers. Jeff asked Liu to get as far away as possible to stay safe, but Liu refused to lose his brother again. The two joined forces to keep eyeless Jack busy. One would distract him while the other dodged his attacks. But in a fateful moment of carelessness, eyeless Jack managed to get close to Jeff. Suddenly, he pulled the scalpel from his pocket and threatened to stab him. Without thinking twice, Liu threw himself with all his strength at the killer, to prevent him from harming his brother, taking the fatal stab wounds from the scalpel instead. At that moment, a boy with wings appeared, causing eyeless Jack to retreat as he felt an unbearable headache. It was Lucky. Nervous, Jeff asked the winged Happypasta to take his brother to the others. He would handle keeping eyeless Jack at bay. Meanwhile, Liu could see only darkness. This was the end for him. But at that moment, he felt comforted and breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that his brother would live thanks to him. Suddenly, the deep silence was interrupted by a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. "Liu, you have proven that my choice was right." Liu was dazed and confused. Who are you? Am I still alive?" The voice replied, "Not yet, but if you wish, you can return to Earth. However, you will no longer be human." But could I still see my brother Jeff?" The voice answered. "Of course, but you must promise that you will continue spreading kindness and doing good among humans, just like your brother." Liu accepted without hesitation, and suddenly he woke up in a meadow full of flowers and plants. Disoriented, he stood up, feeling strange, and when he lifted his gaze, he saw a picturesque house, surrounded by other buildings under construction. He walked towards it, looking for help, but as he approached, he heard his brother's voice calling him from inside. Excited, he ran as fast as he could, and upon arrival, finally, he felt the warm embrace of his brother. Thus, he would begin his new life as a Happypasta. And from Liu, we move on to Sally Forrest, one of Sally Williams' Happypastas. Sally was an adorable 10-year-old girl whose life changed drastically when her father died from a respiratory disease caused by the pollution at the factory where he worked. Despite the loss, Sally managed to move forward and maintain a positive attitude in her life. One day, while sitting under a tree, she closed her eyes for a moment, enjoying the peace of the forest. When she opened them, she was surprised to see a man with an axe approaching in the distance. It was Mario, her mother's new partner, who had come to cut down trees. Sally didn't like him damaging nature at all. "Please, Mario, could you stop cutting down so many trees?" she asked gently. Mario simply looked at her and, without saying a word, ignored her and continued with his task. Far from giving up, the little girl sweetly tried to convince him again. This time, the man responded with disdain. "You need to understand that you're not the owner of the trees or the forest." That upset the little girl, who replied, "You don't have the right to cut down so many trees either. You already have enough firewood." Mario rudely replied that he didn't care, and Sally, disappointed, watched as the trees fell under the man's axe, feeling a deep pain in her heart. Unable to bear the scene, the girl stood up from the grass, dusted off her skirt, and walked back home. When she got home, a notification on her phone caught her attention. It was a YouTube video about climate change, warning that in the coming decades the planet would be in an irreversible state. With tears in her eyes, Sally ran to the kitchen to tell her mother what she had seen. The woman tried to calm her down, assuring her that everything would be okay. Sally suffered a lot because she couldn't understand how people could be so selfish and neglect the world they lived in. Days later, she met up with her best friend, Alethea. The two were having fun at the park when they saw a group of teenagers bothering the other kids. They were using the playground equipment meant for younger children, preventing them from playing, and had bottles of alcohol and several snack bags littered on the ground. Sally, in her soft and polite tone, approached them and asked if they could please leave the children's area and pick up the trash they had thrown on the ground. The boys laughed, and with arrogant smiles told her to leave them alone if she didn't want trouble. Sally stood her ground and insisted they do the right thing. Her friend Alethea joined in, supporting Sally, but they only managed to make the boys laugh even more. Seeing that they wouldn't stop, one of the boys punched Sally in her left eye, bruising it instantly. Alethea, furious, yelled at them and called for help. In the distance, they saw a police officer running towards them. When the boys saw her, they stopped dead in their tracks. Still trembling, Sally told the officer what had happened, and the woman, outraged, called the girls' mothers and took the boys to the station. A week later, Sally's bruise was healing, and her mother recommended she wear a patch over her left eye, which she happily agreed to. She decided she was well enough to go back to playing and headed to Alethea's house. However, on the way, she ran into the same boys from the park again. They seemed to be entertaining themselves with something small, but she couldn't make out what it was. As she got closer, she saw they were herding a baby squirrel. Filled with rage, she ran towards them to protect the little animal. "Hit me if you want, but leave the poor animal alone. It hasn't done anything to you," she shouted, and immediately placed herself between the squirrel and the teenagers. Enraged, they beat her again, leaving her laying on the ground. Meanwhile, the little animal managed to escape. Though her whole body ached, Sally felt at peace knowing she had saved the squirrel. She spent several minutes on the ground until a woman passing by helped her get home. Several months passed since the beating, and one day while walking through the city, Sally began vomiting blood. Her terrified mother immediately took her to the hospital. There, she was hospitalized. A nurse asked her parents to leave the room while they tried to stabilize her. Her mother couldn't stop crying uncontrollably. And Mario, worried for the first time about the little girl, thought about how much Sally had loved the world and how pollution was killing her. He realized he had never treated her the way she deserved. A few minutes later, inside the room, Sally's heart stopped. After some time, the same boys who had beaten her decided to visit her at the cemetery. They couldn't stop having nightmares about her every night, and the guilt was killing them. In front of her grave, they asked for forgiveness. Sally was just a little girl, and they had behaved like monsters. Meanwhile, in another place, Sally's soul was in a magical forest. She heard the boys' words, and although she didn't understand why they had hurt her, she forgave them. A girl appeared before her. "Sorry for being late, Sally, but now you're in a place where you'll be happy forever." The surroundings lit up with a warm glow, and Sally knew that although her life as a human had ended, she was at peace, surrounded by the nature she had loved so much. She had become another happypasta. Who among you knew Sally Forrest? She's a sensitive, sweet little girl with a bit of a mischievous personality. She's not very tall, has fair skin and light brown hair. The most distinctive part of her body is her eyes. One is green and the other is blue. As we mentioned, Sally is the happypasta version of Sally Williams. But she's not the only one. We've also talked to you about another of her happy counterparts, Callie Williamson. Do you want to watch her with us again? Many confuse them in appearance, but you creepypasta experts know that they're totally opposite. Callie's eyes are green and she wears yellow instead of pink, like her antagonist. As in most happypastas, there are several versions of her origin. In the first one, it says that Callie was abandoned by her parents when she was only 6 months old. They left her in the middle of some cardboard boxes in an alley where no one passed. But life smiled at her, and that day a man passed by. He took her to a foster home where they took care of her. She was there until a couple adopted her when she was 4 years old. Despite the fact that she was far behind children her age in many things, she was happy to know that she would finally have a family. She wanted to be treated with love, to be bought a toy, and to spend time with her, what any child would want. But it didn't go as well as she expected. Her new parents destroyed all her toys, and on the first day, she was beaten just for dirtying the carpet. That was the first of many fights that led, when she was 8 years old, to her death. Her adoptive parents threw her off a cliff. At the bottom of that cliff, she would be rescued by a Splendor Man, who would bring her back to life to help him. The other version says that a Splendor Man found her crying in the middle of the forest. Callie barely spoke, only managing to say her name. She was squeezing her stuffed chicken tightly. It was her only company. Seeing her so alone, he decided to take her to his mansion and take care of her. Since then, she helps him save good people and lives with a lot of little friends who, like her, had a really complicated life. She is especially interested in visiting lonely children who have no one else to play with and need her company. She sees herself reflected in them and feels good helping them. Among her most outstanding powers is invisibility. She's a ghost, so she has no body. This allows her to hide when she wants to, but be noticed when she needs to. She doesn't have an exaggerated intelligence due to all the traumas of her childhood, but she perfectly differentiates good from evil, which makes her very valuable in her work. Her conversations are like those of a very young child. She has no facility for words, but she's very curious, so with her little language, she asks everything she can. That immaturity also makes her naive and easy to fool. So, you know, TikTakers, if you meet her, don't try to make fun of her. She's good and always tries to help others. Isn't that right, Callie? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!